Mm, mm, mm. Barber College Success, brought to you by Craig Charles of Crown Cuts Academy JC, Crown Cuts Academy Bristol, and Craig's Crown Cuts Downtown JC. Today we're going to continue on our episode we did last week, preparing for employment. Again, Barber College Success. Give you an example of what Barber College life is about. Give you an example of what to expect as a student if you're trying to change careers or if you're trying to do something new. One of the fastest growing industries in the country. Employment is out the wazoo. So we kind of give you a glimpse into the life of a barber student, what they prepare for. Last week's episode was preparing for employment. We're going to finish up on that. And again, I just thank you for tuning in and learn the JC way, the only way we know how to do it is the Crown Cuts way. Today we have one of my special guests, special guests. I'll let him introduce himself before I jump into this recap. And if you have any questions, feel free because we are live on Market Street Media. Thank you again, Lathan, for your work you do with us. Send us a comment, question, and we'll try to answer it the quickest possible. I'll let my guest introduce himself. Jay Boogie.
Uh, John Honeycutt, Instagram honeycuts423. I'm a barber student. I've had multiple careers in the last 29 years. This is the only one that I even have remotely found fun at all. So, yes, this is the one.
So, John, last week we touched on employment, preparing for unemployment for employment after barber school. When you hear that, what do you think about the employment side of barbering? Getting ready to get a job when you graduate, you're about 5, 6, you're about 8 months away, but still, that's something that you have to think about. So when you hear that, what comes to mind? Anxiety, nervousness, or
There's a whole lot of anxiety there because, I mean, 5 6 months I'll be done, and I mean I've got to go work for somebody. Am I good enough? Are they going to think that I'm good enough? Am I going to have enough clientele that I'm even going to be able to pay chair rent, booth rent, whatever?
I mean, those are valid questions to have. Those are valid questions to ask yourself. That's why we do the podcast, Barber College Success. So you can go through it, rewind. We have upwards of probably 40 something episodes. I'm not sure. We're close to 45. So any questions you may have, you can go back and check out one of the episodes and we'll be able to hit you firsthand with it. Give you a quick recap of what we did last week. Last week we talked about how to get the job you want, where to work, how to start on a resume, the do's and don'ts of resumes, your portfolio, how to get a portfolio, and what should be in your portfolio, targeting the established shop where you want to work, what you want to do to clients, talking to your clients, doing some research, going to barber shops to figure out, is this a fit for you? Now we're going to finish this employment thing, and I think it's real vital that we hit some tough and important notes. So, just in the recap, what you've heard, John, what do you think of the recap, what you've heard so far? Where to work, resume development, the do's and don'ts of your resume, your portfolio, the research, targeting establishment, building a clientele base, and how to prepare to be the best possible candidate.
Well, first off, I feel like each barber builds their clientele kind of based off the kind of people they want to be surrounded by. Um, and then next thing you need to do is look for a shop that those people are going to feel welcome at, that you feel comfortable in. You know, you like the goals and the dreams of the shop and the shop owner. Um, but as far as the rest of those are just things that I would actually have to think about more.
I mean, that's good. I mean, being a student, it comes so fast. Your time just comes up on you so fast. You don't realize that school is over, and wham, it's here now. So what do you do? And with my experience, a lot of students have anxiety because one of the biggest questions, where to get a job? Am I good enough? But that's not abnormal because everyone who's been to school, any type of vocational training, college, wherever it may be, they have those same sets of questions for themselves because it's competitive out there. Even if it's in a field that's one of the fastest growing job industries, it's competitive because people want the best. So you have to prepare yourself in a manner to get that job. So to piggyback off of last week, we're gonna just jump into this topic. The barbershop, the the checklist. When you visit a barbershop, observing the following areas and rate them from 1 to 5, with considering 5 being the best. So I'm gonna give you the checklist and tell me what you think. The barbershop image. On a scale of 1 to 5, why is that important, John?
That's definitely a five right there. I mean, if the shop doesn't have a good image, then people aren't coming in. Period.
Right. And that's it, bottom line. Professionalism.
Professionalism is probably the utmost important. Can't have people yelling, cussing, screaming around in a barber shop. Um, you don't want people, just overall. You go somewhere overall and people are unprofessional. Chances are you're not going back.
Professionalism always wins. You can't shortcut that. You can't be in between on the fence with that. Professionalism always wins. Do the employees present the appropriate professional appearance, behavior? Do they give their clients the appropriate levels of attention and personal service? Or do they act as if work is their time to socialize? Those things you have to consider. You observe the barbers working in there, see what type of vibe you're going into because the objective is to make money. Next on the checklist is the management. Does the shop show signs of being well managed? Is the phone answered promptly and professionally? Client service. Are the clients greeted promptly and warmly when they enter the barbershop? Are they kept informed of the status of their appointment? Are they offered a magazine, a beverage while they wait? Is a comfortable reception area? Those things you think about, you don't think they're important, but those things are valuable because retention, reputation, and income can all be affected when those things are out of order. The prices, the retail, in shop marketing, services. And that's the basic barbershop checklist. So go down that list. When you hear those things shoot off my tongue, what do you think about?
As far as the way the book reads there, that's everything that it lists. That's how a well-oiled machine barbershop should run.
Right.
You know, treating your customer right, clean shop, welcoming appearance, good management. That's all
Client
must
service,
have. Client service must haves.
prices.
Got to be competitive. You can't be higher. You can't be lower. Because if you're lower, they're going to think that the quality's not as good. So you got to stay right there and competitive.
Retail.
Retail sales is very important because you know uh, you only make so much off the haircut. You can only sell so many services, but you can sell product, and that's gonna make it even more.
That's going to impact your income. So if your opportunity to make 30, 40% a day extra, an additional to your barber services, that's a win. That's something you didn't count on when you came in. The marketing. So now it's time to prepare for the job interview. So go back to me, John. Your last job interview. What was it like?
Well, probably didn't go to pretty good, considering I didn't get the job. But
Ah, so go back to it and
I
talk
mean,
about that. What happened?
in my experience, you've been to one job interview, you've been to them all. They
Right.
ask you a few questions, you give them the right answers, they call you in a week, you get the job. You give them the wrong answers, they don't get a call.
I mean,
But I've all in all, I've had some really good interviews to where the management made you feel welcomed.
right.
They asked you if you needed anything. They weren't trying to intimidate you. And then I've been in ones where it seemed like they were trying to make you cry or try to fight them one.
He said, John, why would somebody who's interviewed potential employee make you want to fight them?
Well, if you're willing to fight them in an interview, you're going to fight them on the floor.
John, John, you're a little bit too robust.
It's a test, I guess.
That's a test. They try to see if they can push your buttons.
That's it.
Okay, that's what it is. So the interview. So now you're ready for the job interview. There's a couple things you have to do to prepare for the job interview. When preparing for an interview, make sure that you have all the necessary information and material in place, including the following items. Number one, social security number, your driver's license, your name, mailing address, email address, phone number, and former employers. Name, phone number, and email address of the nearest relative not living with you. You have to come prepared to, in my experience, a lot of times, one of the reasons probably why a lot of people don't take our industry serious because we don't go through those protocols. Those protocols are important. I think every barbershop owner should be able to go through those things and have a set of guidelines when he's hiring someone. I know sometimes a lot of barbershop owners they don't have the demand of barbers for the supply of the jobs. So sometimes they just take what you can get, but that's a mistake because you want to go through the proper protocol. But for the students coming out now in this industry, those those things, the interview preparation is very important. Again, the social security number, driver's license, name, mailing address, email address, and phone numbers for your employer. And then the same thing for a nearest relative or someone who's not living with you so they can get in contact with you because things do happen. So now we go into the interview wardrobe. In your mind, if you're employing someone, you're doing the job. Let's reverse the role. How do you see fit for someone to come in for the job?
Um, you,
How do you see them dressed? So talk about the dress.
I mean, any job interview, I think you should dress professionally, clean clothes, no wrinkles, all that good stuff. As far as a barber, I could see you dressing a little more lax for your interview, but still dress nice.
Right.
Um, you don't want to you don't want to be too flashy. I don't think you want to stand out that kind of way.
I mean, but you want to be presentable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to be appropriate for the position.
Be well groomed and clean.
You want to be fashionable, flattering, and and you want to kind of have that barber look.
I mean, you're going to sell yourself.
You're
That's
going to
what you're
sell
doing.
yourself. So some of the questions you have to ask yourself are the accessories both fashionable and functional? Are your nails well groomed? Is your hairstyle current? Does it flatten your face and your overall style? Is your makeup current?
Sure is.
Are you clean shaved? If not, is your beard properly trimmed? Is your perfume or cologne subtle or non existent? Are you carrying a handbag or a briefcase, but not both? Someone could initially tell when how serious you are by certain things, how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, and all those things are important in preparing for the interview. So some things that you want to have supporting material. You want to have your resume if you haven't sent it already. You want to have facts and figures. Have ready a list of names and dates of former employers, employment, education, and references. You want to have your employment portfolio with you, just in case the employer says, "Hey, let me see what you've done. How many haircuts have you done in school? Have you improved from day one to your 12 months when you graduate?" So those things that we have to start thinking about, and a lot of times you're thinking it's, man, we don't need that. That's not necessary. But again, the objective is to get paid. And if you want the cream of the crop, you want the prime position, you got to be in a prime position yourself to receive it. What do you think, John?
I think you're right. As far as your portfolio goes, you really got one or two ways you could show them. An Instagram, or if you're older school, I guess you could actually take pictures and put it into a photo album and physically bring that to somebody, and you could show it to them.
Right,
Show them your first haircut up until your most recent haircut, and say, "Look, this is my first one. I can show you what I messed up here." Versus this one that is, I would say, perfect.
right. There are some questions that you should prepare for. Some of the questions you should prepare for. Um, why do you want to work here? So we'll just go through a role play. Why do you want to work here, John?
That's a good question. Heard a lot about this place. I've seen a lot with my eyes. I actually grew up getting my hair cut here, so it was a dream to work here.
Mm.
That one will sell them.
What did you like best about your training?
uh, my instructors and just the hands-on that we got.
Are you punctual and regular in attendance?
I am.
Will your school director or instructors confirm this?
They will.
So what would Shay say about you?
Shay'd say that I'm wild and that she loves me.
What about Ray?
Ready to tell you that I'm the craziest person he's ever met.
What skills do you feel are you strongest?
Turning my clippers on.
In what area do you consider yourself to be less strong?
Definitely with the sheer work, for sure.
Are you a team player? And explain.
Some days I am, some days I'm not. Um, Most days I work well with others, and you know do what I'm asked, and do my percentage to get whatever needs to be done. And then some days I just don't want to talk to anybody.
Do you consider yourself flexible?
Very.
How?
You ever had a baby mama?
So what does that mean? You're the baby mama.
Uh, That means you've got to be flexible. She says jump, you say how high, and then you go get your kids.
John, Stone Cold John Austin. What are your career goals?
uh, Career goals are to own my own barbershop in Kingsport. I want to have a style of barbershop that isn't in this area. I want it to be. I love cars. Like that's actually my true passion, and I want to use barbering as a platform to actually start racing.
Hmm.
But I want a automotive themed shop. Like when you walk in, you feel like you're in the bay of somebody's garage.
Wow, interesting. That's nice. I could picture that with the like the Phillips 66, those bay doors coming down. It opens up. That'll
Absolutely,
be the front door to the shop. I
absolutely.
like that. Hmm, hmm. So, what does the days and hours look like for you? What days are you available?
At this point, it's open availability, 7 days a week. I mean, you got to get done what you got to get done.
Are there any obstacles that would prevent you from keeping your commitment to full-time employment besides the baby mom?
Just I mean, nothing really, honestly.
What assets do you believe that you would bring to the barbershop
Uh,
in this position?
I've definitely got a good personality. Never met a stranger. Uh, I like to greet people when they come into the shop, and I like to think of myself as a good barber.
What computer skills do you have?
You say computer skills?
Yes.
Uh, I can type on my phone. That's about it.
How would you handle a problem client?
Um, Swift and ease.
So,
I would. You got to stay calm first and foremost, because as soon as you raise your voice, you've lost control of the situation.
right.
Um, Try to calmly resolve the problem with the person if you can't. Um, if they continue to be a problem, calmly ask them to leave. And if they won't leave, then further actions may have to be taken.
How would you feel about retailing?
Uh, what do you mean by that?
In the shop, as we previously talked about retailing, you might be selling some shampoo, some product, some extra stuff that we have.
Oh
Just
yeah, absolutely. I absolutely intend on doing that. I mean, it's in my opinion, it's basically free money. I mean, if you can sell somebody a product, you tell them this is what I used on you. It made your hair look this great, and if you do it every day and do it just like I do, you'll look this good until you come back.
would you be willing to attend our company's training program?
Absolutely, any continued education and training would be more than welcome.
That's important. Would you please describe ways that you provide excellent customer service?
Uh, with a sense of humor and a smile on my face.
What consultation questions might you ask a client?
When's the last time you had your hair cut? Um, how do you normally style your hair? How much effort do you put into styling your hair of a morning? How often do you wash your hair? Um, would you like to try a new style?
Mm. Are you prepared to train for a year before you have your own clients?
Absolutely.
And again, those are just some review questions that an interviewer might ask. And you have to be prepared for some type of questions. So generally, it's generally important for you to go through your textbook and just kind of refresh yourself in certain things because you might be asked about certain types of shampoo. How do you give a client consultation like we just talked about? What do you do for dandruff? What kind of shampoo you use for certain types of medical conditions? So the employer might just throw a trick question on there just to see where you're at, which is good.
Seems like it'd be wise to go through your book before you go to your interview. Then
And a couple things the day of the interview. Try to make sure that nothing occurs that will keep you from completing the interview successfully. You should practice the following behaviors in connection with the interview itself. Always be on time. What does on time mean?
on time means be there 15 minutes before.
And typically, a lot of people don't think those things apply to them. They don't think it's important, but it shows your dedication, how much you want this job. Turn off your cell phone. Do not arrive with earbuds or hands free cell phone device in your ear. Little things like that you would think is not important. It's not a big deal, but
It's unprofessional.
it is. Project a warm, friendly smile. Smiling is a universal language. Why?
Because it's the universal sign of happy. I'm not a threat to you.
You're in good space.
Yeah,
Walk, sit, and stand with good posture. Be polite and courteous. Do not sit until you are asked to do so or until it's obvious that you are expected to do so. Never smoke or chew gum, even if one of the other is offered to you. Do not come to an interview with a cup of coffee, soft drinks, snacks, or anything else to eat or drink. When you do you think it's important to remind people those things, John?
You wouldn't think so, but if the book mentions so, I guess it's
And that's
something they find
and
important.
that's why we do the podcast to remind people of certain things to benefit themselves. Because you would think as simple as a consultation we talked about in one of our previous episodes, the most important part of the haircut. But still, you probably can go in barbershop country and somewhere and see someone with some headphones on there, some headphones on, and cutting the hair without even engaging with the client.
To me, that completely defeats the point of going to the barbershop.
But some people don't understand. Some barbers don't understand. That's why our industry is lacking the respect that it's lacking. It starts in the beginning. Try to project a positive first impression. Speak clearly. Answer questions honestly. Never criticize former employees. There's something called barber etiquette where you should never talk bad about another barber. That's just across the board. Barbers should never talk bad about another barber. What do you think, John?
Um, it's just, I mean, honestly, it's just a common courtesy. I mean, you really shouldn't talk about anybody, period. Much less somebody that's in the same profession as you. Because that person that you're telling that to may just think that you're just salty at them, and that there's no real basis why you're saying that this person sucks at cutting hair.
Well, you respect the industry and you love the industry so much, your positiveness will kind of spread
Right.
and it will be infectious.
And I mean, honestly, there's so much business out here. Everybody can eat, even if you do suck at cutting hair.
You got to have great customer service skills.
Absolutely.
Always remember to thank the interviewer at the end of the interview. Another critical part of the interview comes when you are invited to ask the interviewer questions of your own. You should think about those questions ahead of time and bring a list if necessary. Doing so will show that you are organized and prepared. Some questions that you might consider including the following. What are you looking for in a barber? So now I'm reversing the role. You're the employer, and I'm
Okay.
the employee. I'm going to ask you questions. What are you looking for in a barber, sir?
Looking for somebody that's going to show up on time. Looking for somebody that has a good portfolio, a clientele basis of 50 customers or more already,
Hmm.
and you, sir, have 5,000.
Is there a job description?
No.
Is there a shop manual that I may review?
Yes.
How does the barbershop promote itself?
Through social media, commercials, and we even have a billboard if you go look out there.
How how long do barbers typically work here?
Um, we've had people work here for 10 years, and we've had people leave in 6 months. Just some people just aren't a good fit.
Are employees encouraged to grow in skill and responsibility?
We encourage our employees to grow their skills and to attend as many continued education seminars as they can, and to actually encourage each employee to open their own shop at some point.
Is there room for advancement?
Yes.
And what are the requirements for promotion?
On time attendance, several years of service, and an income per year.
What key benefits does the shop offer?
Um,
Health insurance, dental insurance.
We just offer dental and vision.
What outside and community activities is the barbershop involved in?
We get free hair people. We go down to the Veterans Hospital and help out, and we even pick up trash on the interstate. It's even named after us.
What is the form of compensation? How do you compensate it? Through booth rent, commission, or a combination of both, or how do you?
Combination of both.
When will the position be filled?
As soon as possible.
May I contact you in a week regarding your decision?
Absolutely.
Can I tour the barbershop today?
Yes.
Great. So those are things that you should be prepared to have questions because the employer is going to have questions for you. So as an employee coming in, you should have questions yourself. And that's just like a rundown, basic questions, but you can piggyback off of those and add some questions yourself. Now there's a legal aspect to employment too. There are some questions that legally that you can't really ask in an interview. Age or date of birth, disabilities, because there's a disability act prohibits general inquiries about health problems, disabilities, and mental conditions. Drug use or smoking. Questions regarding drug or tobacco use are permitted. In fact, the employer may obtain the application agreement to be bounded by the employer's drug and smoking policy and to submit to drug testing. Citizenship. Employers are not allowed to discriminate because an applicant is not a U.S. citizen. However, employers can request to see a green card or a work. When you hear those things, what do you think about?
Um,
Because there is a legal aspect to it.
well, as the employer, you don't want to get in any trouble. But I mean, most of those are common sense things to me. Like you don't pick at somebody for their disability, which would be asking them about it. You don't, you know,
So I'll just go down the list. Illegal questions that you cannot ask. How old are you? Please describe your medical history. Are you a U.S. citizen? What is your native language? Now I'm going to go with the legal questions. Legal questions that you can ask. Are you over the age of 18? Are you physically able to perform this job? Are you authorized to work in the United States? In which language are you fluent? So you can twist some things to be illegal and legal, but it all depends how it's relayed and asked.
basically the same questions, just worded a little differently.
Yes. And then we go into employment contracts. Employers can legally require you to sign a contract as a condition of employment. In the barbering business, the most common one are non-compete or confidentiality agreement. Um, I think it's important from a student perspective and an employer perspective to both have some type of contractual agreement because it protects you on both sides. Why do you think a contractual agreement would protect you as a new student coming in?
It sets the guidelines on what I'm paying, as far as tuition. It says, I'm set to go, to graduate on this date, and it's going to take this many hours, this many days, and then we agree on a couple of rules, and then,
Yeah, because typically in some states that you have a right to fire, a right
right,
to hire. So with you having a contractual agreement, if you follow everything that you're asked to do, you can go back to the employer and be like, hey, it's time for a raise, or can we adjust my booth rent or commission, or if he says, "Hey, I'm trying to fire you for some type of reason that's unbecoming," you can be like, "Hey, what's going on? I mean, I've followed all the rules. I've done my part. Where is the disconnect? Because according to this contract that I signed, I have been here. I have followed all the directions. I'm always on time, and I give you 100%."
How would you handle that as a shop owner when your employees ask you the same questions?
I mean, typically, I think it's important because it kind of holds both our feet to the fire. Because you have someone who's invested. You have someone who's coming into your shop willing to treat their shop like it's yours. And those employees are hard to come by because realistically, you have an employee like that who's coming in treating your shop like it's his the first day. He's preparing himself for greatness. He is preparing himself to open his own shop. He's preparing himself for whatever opportunity that may come. So I can't do nothing but respect that because I know I can pass the baton to him and or her, and they will never drop it.
Right.
And that's the key for I think most employers when you're dealing with employees. You want to be able to pass on the baton and they don't drop it, and you can just turn around and not worry about the business because the business is in good hands. That's the objective as an employer to an employee. Doing it right. You are ready to set out on an exciting new career as a professional barber. The right way to proceed is by learning important study and test taking skills early and applying them consistently. Think ahead to your employment opportunities and use your time in school to develop and record your interests. Noteworthy activities that will make your resume more exciting. When you compile a history that shows how you have achieved your goals, your confidence will grow. When you hear that, you know that quote we talk about make your first like your last, and your last like your first, and make that your everything. That's what comes up. Preparing yourself from day one of school to the last day. Make that first day of school like your last day, and make your last day like your first day, and make that your everything. So that means you're prepared for whatever comes your way. What do you think, Mr. John?
Um, I think you're right. I mean, I mean, I've got 6 months left, and I've got two big tests ahead of me. Oh, those two things right there. If I can't pass those, none of this even matters.
Can't be efficient.
None of it even matters. So, like right now, I'm actually using this time to try to become a better student, to study better, because I mean, I've got ADHD. I've got to read something 10 times before I retain it. It's just what it is. So if I have to read it 20 times for it to be put into my head, that's just what I'm going to have to do
Right.
in order to pass state board and that. And, that same drive and study, I think you need to take over even after that fact, as far as your continued education.
Employment is it's important. That is important. All those things that you just detailed adds up to your employment date. All those things that you talked about that you detailed helps you prepare yourself for that job, puts you ahead of the class. So when we talk about the 80-20 rule, you're in that 20% if you prepare yourself properly. You take this thing serious to get to the next level because the objective is to go to school to get a job.
That's it. It's a
Bottom
whole,
line.
it's a whole lot of money up front for, you know, you know, because I know how I feel. Some days I'm like, man, why am I even here? I could be making money working somewhere.
Right.
And then I have to stop and think like it's going to pay off way more than this in the long run.
It's an investment. You're invested
Absolutely.
in yourself. It's not a sacrifice. We have to reverse that role where we talk about investment and sacrifice. It's similar words, but sacrifice seems like you just climbing this big mountain and you just trying to crawl and you got to grind and grit and you're not getting nothing out of it.
Like some of those slow days at school, they're absolutely miserable.
Yeah,
I mean, the minutes just drag by.
they
And I know
do,
there's going to be days in a shop that are going to be like that. And it's mental preparation for what it's going to be like.
and that's the investment part. So those slow days in school, that's what we have to talk about. Trying to pick something else up to advance your knowledge, to
Right.
advance your skill. Get on the mannequin. Work on your test taking skills. Find some more time to review those notes so you won't have to do it 10 to 20 times.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think about today, John? Your first time on this podcast. What did you have any anxiety coming in?
Oh yeah, real bad. The whole way up here, I was like, man, what excuse can I come up with to tell Craig that I can't come? And then I was like, yeah, just go do it.
But do you realize most people come on and they are nervous? They
Eh,
have a nervous anxiety. So you had a little bit of nervous anxiety coming on, but it wasn't that bad. It was fun. You don't even realize that we've been on this podcast for about 45, 50 minutes now.
It doesn't seem that long.
It seemed like we've only been talking about 10, 15.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought it would be like more like you could tell that we're being filmed and recorded, but it's just been a conversation with me and Craig.
Yeah, we are live on Facebook. I mean, tell your family, your friends.
I know I've rolled my eyes at the camera a few times.
John said he rolled his camera.
I mean, I can't come on here and not be myself. Come
He's
on.
gonna shout out to your dad. Your
I
mom.
give a shout out to everybody.
Yeah, but you can go back and watch it in the Market Street Media later. It's on Facebook, and right now it's live anyway. But you can always go back and critique yourself, see what you could have done better. But everybody who comes on the show, we have to come back again for the second season. So if you've been on here once, you have to come back again.
Absolutely.
But it's gonna be a different topic.
Even better.
So in closing, what would you say, or what do you want to say to a prospective student coming in to school or thinking about barber school, this industry, or just thinking about someone thinking about changing careers, looking for a new career, and what do you say to that person, prospective person? Because also there are a lot of new students coming in from high school, so you have to speak to a set of two different groups of people. What do you say to them?
Okay, for the kids coming out of high school, go for it. You could be making so much more money than the kids that like went and did regular college, and they'll come out with a crap ton of debt. You're gonna be all right. It's a people act like it's not a trade, but it is a trade. It's the same as welding. It's the same as you know
Plumbing,
plumbing, as in
carpentry,
carpentry. All of that. It's a trade. It's what it is. Just because they don't offer it at the trade school,
right?
it doesn't mean it's not a trade. But that's what it is. You're learning a skill. You're putting it to use every day with your hands,
And you're making great money.
and you're gonna make great money. For the people that are older that are looking for a career change, that's one of those things that as an adult, you've got to be prepared to not work for a year. You've got to, make sacrifices. You're going to eat some ramen noodles, I promise
Investment,
you.
investment.
Yeah. Um, anytime that subject comes up, I always talk about Bronson and Brent. I mean, those two guys put in 2 years of work before they ever even set foot in that classroom in order to make sure that they could do what they wanted to do as their goals and their dreams.
Because most people don't realize when you have a job that you're passionate about, it's not work.
And I mean, I've never had a day that I didn't have at least a couple minutes of fun at school. It's it's probably one of the best things that I've ever did with my life
Hmm,
is
that's
coming to your school. It is.
that's impactful. I mean, because people out there gonna be listening to this. You know what I mean? Because we have fans, not we have listeners. I shouldn't say fans. Some of them are probably fans, but we have listeners all over the world, all through the state of, all through all counties in Tennessee, all through the United States, all through the Caribbean, in Germany, and Switzerland,
What
in Asia. We have listeners all throughout the country and the world.
you know, your Bristol school is literally 15 minutes from my house. I drive 45 minutes to come to Johnson City every day,
Mm.
just because the first time I walked in, I felt so welcomed
Mhm.
and like I was like, "Yep, this is the place." So it's worth the drive
You can try the
every day.
Bristol school too. Oh, you already got friends in
Yeah,
Johnson
but I got
City.
friends in Johnson City. Shout out to y'all.
Shout out to y'all. But anyway, in closing, man, we had a good podcast, and I want to say thank you, John,
Thank you, Craig.
and Barber College Success once again. Brought to you by Craig Charles of Crown Cuts Academy, JC Crown Cuts Academy Bristol, and Craig's Crown Cuts Barbershop downtown. Spread the love the JC way. The only way we know how to do it is the Crown Cuts way. Boom, shaka, laka, shaka, 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 shaka. Boom, boom.